Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the third part of this series where you're building a personal dashboard app using Angular. In this video, we're going to be working on the Bookmarks View. Alright then, let's get started. So then if we go and look at the designs here, we see that this is the view for the bookmarks. So here we have this kind of grid sort of effect where we have the bookmarks as these boxes, and we have the buttons to add and manage those bookmarks underneath. And yeah, so I think we can build these, build the user interfaces for these 3 pages. Yeah, alright, so I think we can start building this now. So let's go back to the code, and I think we can basically close the tabs component, because we've pretty much finished with these. So I'm going to just close that tab, and I'm going to go back to the app.component.html. And what we want to work on is we want to work on the bookmarks component. So let's actually go to the bookmarks component.html, and we just have this right now. So let's get rid of this, and let's create a div which has the class of bookmarks wrapper. Bookmarks wrapper. And let's go here, and let's actually just save this, and let's go to the style sheet, and let's work on bookmarks wrapper class, and let's set the height to 100%, and let's set the background to wheat. Okay, so that's just a preset color. Let's save that, and let's go back to the application, and now we see this block here, like that. Cool. All right, so let's now go back to the code, and let's go here, and let's create a bookmark tile. So a bookmark tile div, and let's put a favicon in here, because if you look here, we have all these favicons, right? So we can do that by using an image tag and setting the source to well, for example, let's put in the Wikipedia favicon. So here we could put in http wikipedia.org/favicon.ico. Okay, so save that, and let's go back to the application, and now we see that. Cool. Alright, so now that we have that, we can now go back to the code, and we can start to style this. So let's go to the style sheet, and let's go here, and let's try and style the bookmarks tile. Okay, and then first of all, let's set the background color. So we can set background to RGBA black 0.5. Let's save that, and let's go back to the application. And we can't really see anything, and that's because the icon is taking up all of the space, I think. Let's go here and see. So let's actually set the width and the height here. Let's set the width to 100 pixels, and let's set the height to 100 pixels, like that. Let's go here, and we still can't see anything, so let's see what's going on here. Okay, so I'm not actually styling this. I might have actually done the selector wrong. Yeah, okay, so it's actually bookmark tile. Okay, sorry about that. Save this, and let's go back to the application. Alright, cool. So now we have this, and alright, so let's now go here, and let's actually center this. Let's center this icon here. So if I go here and I make this display flex, then I can do justify content center and align items center to perfectly center the content. So let's save this, and let's go back to the application, and now it's perfectly centered. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to actually put this in a layout where it has a fixed width. So for example, if we look here, we see that this is centered within a div which has a fixed width, because even if we look at the other views, so for example, here is the to-dos view, here we see that it has a fixed width, right? And the same thing with the notes view. Here it has a fixed width, right? So let's go and create a let's go and create a style, a class, which can handle this for us. So let's go here and let's create a class which is called container. Okay, and then I just want to give this a max width of 850 pixels. Okay, I'm now going to save this and go to the template, and here we can create a div which has the class of container, like that, and then we can move the closing div tag outside here so it's surrounding the tile. Okay, let's save that and let's go back to the application, and that didn't make a difference. And we can see why if we go to the style sheet again, and let's just give this container a background color just so we can actually see what's going on. So let's give this RGBA black 0.25. If we save this and I go back to the application, here we see that the container is this block here, right? So it stops here, and that's 850 pixels. And yes, if we inspect this, we can even see this a bit clearer. This is the container right here. Okay, so it is working. It's just that it's not centered. So if we go back to the code here and we now center this using margin auto, like that. If we save this and now go back to the application, now it's centered. Cool. So that's looking pretty good. Let's now go back to the code. Let's get rid of the background. Okay, and let's save this. Okay, cool. So now we have this container, which will help us with this, which is great. Cool. All right. So that's pretty good, and it will help us with all of our layouts in these pages because they all use the container. So that's pretty good. But because we're using it in multiple places, we should actually probably just move this to the styles.css so that it's a global class. So if I paste that back there, save this and go back here, save this and go back to the application, it's still working. Cool. So that's good. All right. So the next thing we can do is we can actually create another tile. So let's just copy this. There we go. And I guess we can now use, let's use Google. All right, so let's go here. And let's give this the URL of http google.com/favicon.ico. Okay, save this and let's go back to the application. And now we have this one here. Cool. But now we want to actually move this so that it's next to this other one, right? So the layout has to change a little bit. Cool. All right, so let's go back to the code and let's go and create another div which we can surround the bookmarks. Okay, cool. So that's surrounded now, and now we can give this div a class of bookmark tile container. And if we save this and we now go to and actually let's just change this to bookmark tiles container. Okay, save this and let's go to the style sheet and we can now go here and let's do .bookmark tiles container. And here we can give this display flex. Save that and let's go back to the application. Cool. All right, so now they are next to each other. The next thing we can do is we can add some space in between each item. So let's go back here and let's do gap, and let's say the gap is 20 pixels. If we save that, go back to the application. Okay, so now there's 20 pixels of space. Okay, cool. The next thing we can do is we can actually center these so that they aren't actually left aligned. So let's go back here, and I guess we can do. All right, so we can center the items by doing justify content center. Save that. Let's go back to the application, and now they're centered. Cool. All right, cool. So let's now make sure that these favicons can't exceed a certain width, right? So I think they should have a max width of about 32 pixels. So if we go here and we go here, and here we can target the bookmark tile, and then target the image inside the bookmark tile. And here what we can do is we can do max width is 32 pixels, like that. Save that and let's go back to the application, and now this is consistent with this one here, right? Cool. So that's good. Let's now work on the border radius. So I guess we could go back here and give this a border radius of about 10 pixels. Save that and go back to the application. I think that's a bit too much. If we look here, this is probably maybe 4 pixels. So let's go here, 4 pixels there. All right, save that and let's go back to the application. Cool. All right, so that's a lot better. Let's now go and actually just change this to 5 pixels because that's the actual value that I'm using in this in the design. So this is 5 pixels. So if I save this now and go back to the application, cool. All right, let's actually get rid of this background here because I don't think we need it anymore. Let's get rid of this and let's go back to the application. Cool. All right. So if we look here, this looks pretty similar. Let's actually just move the Google one to the start. Let's move this one up here like that. Okay, so we can actually see a bit of a better comparison. Okay, cool. So we still have to add this text in here. All right, so before we move on, let's put this into its own component. So let's go back to the code and let's go to the terminal and let's do ng generate component or nggc and then the name of the component, which we can call bookmark -tile. Okay. And let's now go to the bookmark tile template and let's get rid of this. Okay, and let's go to the bookmarks component.html and let's copy over this markup and paste it here. Okay, cool. So let's save that now and let's now go to the style sheet for the bookmarks component and let's copy over all of the styles for the bookmark tile and the bookmark tile image, right? So all of this styles here. Okay, so I'm going to cut this and let's save this and let's now go to the bookmark tile style sheet, this one here, and paste it in there. Okay, let's save that now. And if we go back to the application, we see here that the styles aren't being applied, and that's because we have moved the styles from the bookmarks component. So if we go to the bookmarks component template, we can actually get rid of this like that, and we can actually just now put here the bookmark tile component. So the selector for this will be app-bookmark tile. So app-bookmark tile. Okay, like that. And we can confirm this if we go to the bookmark tile component class, so the .ts file here, and look at the selector, right? So that is the selector. Okay, so let's go back here and save this, and let's go to the application. And now we see this here. Cool. So it's all styled and everything seems to be working fine. Let's go back to the code here. And let's now go to the bookmark tile component template. And I guess we can now add the text, right? This text here. So let's work on that next. Cool. All right. So let's go here and let's create a paragraph tag. Let's give this the class of tile text, like that. And then here we can put in Google. Okay, if we save this now and go back to the application, we see this text here. Well, it's quite hard to see, but if we select it, then we can see it there, Google. All right, so first of all, let's actually put it on a separate line, right? So let's change the flex layout here so that it's a flex column layout. So if I go here and I go to the style sheet, here we can see that the bookmark tile has a display of flex, and by default that means that items are next to each other. But if we change the flex direction to column, then this should work. So let's save this and let's go back to the application, and now it works. Okay, cool. All right, so let's now go back here and let's go and style the bookmark tile text. So if we use the selector tile dash text, I think that's what I called it, right? Tile text, yeah. Then here we can first of all change the color to, let's say, white. If we save this and go back here, then we see that. And if you look at the design here, Okay, so I think we can actually reduce the color, right? So we can actually maybe use RGBA. So if we go here and use RGBA white 0.8, see how that looks. Okay, so that's much better. But maybe 0.85 though, maybe 0.85. Cool, alright, so that's looking pretty good. Cool, alright, so the next thing we can do is we can actually add some space in between these two items here. So we could go here, and I guess we could even go to the bookmark tile and give it a gap, right? We could give this a gap value, something like 12 pixels, like that. If we save that and go back to the application, then that works. Cool, alright, so that works. And we could have even used margin bottom on the image tag here, but this gap seems to work. So let's keep it like that, and let's look at the design. Okay. Let's actually make sure that the font size here is 14 pixels. Okay, so let's go back to the code here, and let's go to the tile text and set the font size to 14 pixels. Okay, save that, go back to the application. Cool, alright, so that's a little bit smaller now. Cool, alright, so that's looking good. And I think that's basically it. I think we can now start working on the hover effect, okay? Because these are actually links which will link out to these bookmarks, right? So we need some hover effects. So let's go back to the style sheet, and let's go to the bookmark tile. And here we can do and hover. Okay, and we can change the background color. So I guess we could do background RGBA black 0.68. And I think we can actually even increase the default background color because it's a little bit light. So let's give it 0.55. Let's save that and let's go back to the application. Okay, cool. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Cool, alright, so let's also set the cursor to pointer. So let's go here and set cursor to pointer so that it looks clickable. Okay, good. Let's also maybe use a blurring effect on the background so that on hover it kind of blurs the background a bit. So we can do that by using backdrop filter and blur 2 pixels. Okay, save that. Cool, alright, so that's looking pretty good. And now let's actually work on the click effect. Alright, so we can do that using the active state. So let's set the background to RGBA black 0.75. And let's also translate down so that it looks like it's being clicked, right? So it's like moving down a little bit. So let's do transform, translate Y, and then 2 pixels. Okay, so that it will go down 2 pixels. Let's save that and let's go back to the application and let's try this. Cool, alright, so that's looking pretty good. Alright, cool, so let's actually go and see how this would look with a transition on it. So let's go here and let's give this a transition of all 0.1 seconds. Let's save that and go back to the application. Cool, so I like the transition on hover, but on click, I think we can actually remove the transition from there so it looks more fast, right? So if we go here, and we can actually set the transition duration. Oh, sorry, not on hover, but on active. Let's just move this back down to active. We can set the transition duration to 0 seconds to kind of like remove the transition in the active state. So if we save this and now go back to the application and try this. Cool. So it's instantly moving down 2 pixels and changing its background to a darker color on click. Cool. All right, that's looking pretty good. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the text here can't overflow, right? Because each of the bookmark tiles has a width of 100 pixels, I think. If we go up here, we can see that the width is 100 pixels. And I don't want the text to be able to overflow that. So let's go to the template. And if we go here, we can actually just put in some lorem ipsum text. So if you type in lorem and then press enter, it will put in a lot of text here. So if we just save that and go back to the application, we see this, right? So that's a bit of a mess, right? So we want to actually prevent this from happening. We want to actually truncate this text. So let's go back to the style sheet and let's go to tile text and let's set the overflow to hidden and see how that looks. Save that, go back to the application. Okay, so it's now hiding that. However, it's still wrapping onto a new line, and I don't want that. So let's actually make this not wrap. Alright, so we can do white space, no wrap. Save that and go back to the application. Okay, so now it's not going to wrap. Okay, so now it's all on one line, so that's good. But we want this to actually not overflow, right? So let's actually set the maximum width of this. Let's go here and set maximum width, max width, and let's set this to 100%. Let's save this and go back to the application. And now it's actually preventing any overflow. Cool. But now we want to actually put an ellipsis when there's an overflow. Okay, so let's go here and let's do text overflow and then do ellipsis. Okay, let's save that now and let's go back to the application, and there we go. So that is now truncating the text and showing a ... when there is more that's been cut off, right? Cool. But now we want to actually fix this problem of the spacing, because now there's no spacing on the sides, right? So let's actually give this some padding. Let's go and give this some padding. Let's go to the bookmark tile class, and I guess we can go here and give this some padding. Let's give this 10 pixels of padding. Save that, go back to the application. Okay, cool. So I think in the worst case scenario, when there's an overflow on text, then I think 10 pixels should be enough. Maybe we can increase it to 12. Actually, let's actually increase the width here, because I think we need a bit more width so that there can be more text to be able to fit in there. So if we do 110 on there, save that. Okay, I think we also have to make this height 110 so that it looks more like a square. So if we save that, go back to the application. Okay, if we look at the design here. Okay, so I don't actually think it needs to be square, actually. I think it'll look better if we actually maybe change the height to 105, maybe 105, or maybe even 100. Let me just see how this looks. If we look like that, yes, I think that looks good. All right, let's keep that, and let's actually change this text back to something shorter. Save that, go back to the application. All right, cool. So if we look here, then that looks pretty similar. Cool. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to see how this works when there's a lot of bookmarks. So let's go back to the code and let's go to the bookmarks component, and let's just create a lot of these. Let's just copy and paste a lot of them. Okay, let's save that and let's go back to the application. Alright, okay, so there's a lot of these bookmark tiles here, and it's actually overflowing, and you know, that isn't very good. So let's actually go and fix this. So let's go back to the code and let's go to the bookmarks.component.scss, this one here, and let's just adjust this. So we want this to wrap. So let's do flex wrap, and then we can do wrap, and we can save this, and let's go back to the application. Okay, and now they're actually wrapping. Great. So this is looking pretty good. And if we scroll down here, we see it's overflowing, but in this direction now. Okay, so that's an improvement at least. So the way to fix this is by adding a scroll bar to the whole component so that all of the overflow is contained within that scrollable section, right? So if we go back to the code here, we can do that by adding overflow y, because it's in the y-axis of scroll, or auto, and it will only show a scroll bar if there's an overflow. Okay, so if we save this now and go back to the application, this still doesn't work. The reason for this is because of the way that the flex layout is on the app component. So if we go to the app.component.html, we see here that we have the content section, and inside there we have the router outlet. So our components are injected inside this content section div. So if we go to the style sheet and go to content section, here we have flex scroll 1, and that's all good and that's all working. But this is a flex child, and I think the minimum height of this is the height of its contents. So what I think is happening is the content section here is growing. So if we actually inspect this, if we look at the content section, this content section is growing, and the minimum height is of its contents. So all of this creates a large height value, and I think that's treated as the minimum height, because the minimum height is to fit its contents, right? And if we go to Firefox, we can actually inspect in Firefox, and Firefox has some pretty cool tools to see flex layouts. So then let's go to the content section here, and let me try to make this a bit bigger. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go to the content section, and here we can see the flex item kind of overview here, and here it's showing that the content size is 980 pixels. Okay, so that's all of the content inside here, and that's because of all these bookmark tiles are causing this to be 980 pixels. That's the content size. And if we scroll down here, it says that the minimum size is 980 pixels. Okay, so it's actually saying that the minimum size is the same as the content size. Okay, so to fix this, what we can do is we can actually set minimum height, min height 0. Okay, and that actually fixes the issue. As we can see here, this is now a final value of 445 pixels, and if we look at the user interface, we now see the scroll bar here. Okay, cool. So let's close this now, and let's go back to Chrome. Let's close this, and let's go back to the application code, and let's now go here and set minimum height to 0. Okay, let's save this, and let's go back to the application, and now we have the scroll bar. Cool. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's pretty much the basic UI done for the bookmarks. That's pretty nice. Okay, cool. Let me actually go back to the code here. Let's close this for now. Let's close that for now. Let's just clean up the workspace. So let's just close these tabs. Okay. All right. So cool. All right. So I think we're basically done with the bookmarks view for now. Let's now move on to the to-dos view. So let's go and work on that. All right. So let's start working on the to-dos view. That's what we're going to be doing next.